My name is Jasmine, and for the past 4 years, I've worked as a senior project manager at Bennett Construction. Unlike many of my colleagues who complain about our hectic schedules and demanding clients, I thrive on the pressure. There's something deeply satisfying about seeing a project through from blueprints to ribbon cutting. My apartment in downtown Portland isn't huge, but it's mine, or at least it will be once I finish paying the mortgage. The view from my balcony overlooks the river, and on clear days, I can see Mount Hood in the distance. This Friday evening, I was enjoying a rare moment of peace with a glass of Pinot Noir when my phone buzzed. Mom's face lit up my screen. "Hey, Mom," I answered, tucking the phone between my ear and shoulder as I refilled my glass. "Jasmine, honey," her voice had that forced cheerfulness that usually meant she wanted something. "Listen, your father and I are having a family meeting next Saturday. Everyone will be there, and we need you to come too. I'll make your favorite lasagna, the one with the 3 cheeses and homemade sauce." My mom's lasagna was legendary, and she knew it was my weakness. I couldn't help but smile. "I'll be there." After we hung up, I walked back out to my balcony. It had been months since I'd seen my parents. Between my 60-hour workweeks and their busy retirement schedule of golf and community theater, our paths rarely crossed except for major holidays. Seeing my younger siblings would be interesting. Tyler and Tiffany, the twins, were 12 years younger than me at 24. While I was setting up my first apartment and working my way through college, they were still in elementary school being showered with attention and the latest gadgets. Our parents' approach to parenting had undergone a dramatic shift between raising me and raising them. With me, it was all about responsibility, saving money, and being independent. By age 12, I was doing my own laundry. At 14, I became the twins' default babysitter whenever our parents wanted a night out. Meanwhile, Tyler and Tiffany grew up with far fewer rules and considerably more indulgence. When I moved out at 18, they were still being tucked in at night. Now, at 24, they both lived in apartments our parents helped pay for while they found themselves. Tyler had cycled through 3 different college majors before settling on communications, and Tiffany was currently between jobs after quitting her barista position because her manager was totally toxic. The following Saturday, I pulled into my parents' driveway at exactly 4 p.m. Tiffany's bright blue Kia and Tyler's motorcycle were already parked out front. Great. I was the last to arrive, which meant they'd probably been talking about me. As I approached the front door, I could hear laughter from inside. It stopped abruptly when I rang the doorbell. Mom answered, wearing an apron and a slightly strained smile. "Jasmine, come in, come in." She gave me a quick hug that smelled of garlic and perfume. The twins were sitting close together on the living room couch, their heads bent toward each other in conspiratorial fashion. When I walked in, they looked up simultaneously with identical expressions of forced casualness. "Hey, Jazzy," Tiffany said, twirling a strand of blonde hair around her finger. "Nice suit, coming from work?" It was Saturday, but I didn't bother correcting her. "Hi, Tiff, Tyler." I nodded at my brother, who gave a half-hearted wave without getting up. I went into the dining room, where Mom was setting out the good china, the set we only used for Thanksgiving and Christmas. "Wow, bringing out the fancy stuff," I observed. "This must be some family meeting." Mom and Dad exchanged a quick glance that sent a ripple of unease through me. Before I could ask what was going on, the twins sauntered in and took their usual seats across from me. Throughout dinner, the conversation remained painfully superficial. Mom talked about her garden club, Dad mentioned a new golf club he was considering, and the twins shared gossip about people I didn't know from their circle of friends. No one asked about my work or life, which wasn't unusual but still stung. The lasagna was amazing as promised, but I couldn't fully enjoy it with the underlying tension in the room. Mom's hands trembled slightly as she served dessert, homemade tiramisu, another one of my favorites. "Okay," I finally said, setting down my fork, "what's going on?" "You're all acting weird, and Mom's made 2 of my favorite dishes." "Just tell me what this is about." My parents exchanged another loaded glance before Dad cleared his throat. "Jasmine, you know we're getting older, and we've been thinking about the future," he began. Mom jumped in, "We've decided to finalize our will, and we wanted to tell you about it in person." "Okay," I said cautiously. "We've decided," Dad continued, "that the house and the lake cottage will go to Tyler and Tiffany." The room went silent. I stared at my father, waiting for the rest, but he just looked at me expectantly. "And," I finally asked. "That's it," Mom said, her voice oddly defensive, "you should understand, honey. You're doing so well financially, and the twins are still finding their way. They need the security more than you do." I looked across the table at my siblings. They were both trying, and failing, to suppress smug smiles. "Just so we're clear," Tyler said, leaning forward, "we wanted you to know now so there's no confusion later. Everything goes to us." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Everything? The house that I'd been helping pay the mortgage on for the past 4 years? The cottage that I paid $30,000 to renovate last summer? Mom's face flushed. "That's not relevant, Jasmine. Family helps family, you know that." "Yeah, family helps family," I repeated slowly. "Like when I paid for both their college tuitions? Or when I send you $600 every month for household expenses?" My parents looked away, unable to meet my eyes. Tiffany snorted, "Don't act all high and mighty, Jazzy. You've always been jealous that Mom and Dad love us more." "Excuse me?" I felt my face growing hot. "It's true," Tyler added, "you've always resented us because you had to babysit while we got to have fun. It's not our fault you were born first." I looked at my parents, waiting for them to defend me, to say something, anything, to contradict this ridiculous accusation. Instead, Mom's face hardened. "You should be ashamed, Jasmine. Talking about money at a family dinner. You've always been obsessed with counting every penny. Meanwhile, your brother and sister are struggling to find good jobs in this economy. And whose fault is that?" I shot back. "You've never made them take responsibility for anything. They can't keep jobs because they've never had to work for anything in their lives." "See?" Tiffany said triumphantly. "Jealous and greedy." I pushed my chair back from the table. "What I see is that I've been supporting this family for years while getting nothing but criticism in return. And now I find out you're cutting me out of the will entirely? For what? For being responsible?" Dad stood up abruptly. "I think you should leave, Jasmine. When you've calmed down and can discuss this rationally, we can talk again." I was stunned into silence. As I gathered my purse and jacket, the twins smirked at me from across the room. "Don't let the door hit you on the way out," Tyler called after me. "This is our house now, not yours." The drive home was a blur. All I could think about was how blind I'd been all these years. The drive home felt like an out-of-body experience. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white, but I barely registered the road in front of me. By some miracle, I made it back to my apartment without incident. "You're such an idiot, Jasmine," I muttered to myself as I kicked off my shoes in the entryway. "Such a complete and utter fool." I went straight to my wine rack and grabbed a bottle of Cabernet, not the cheap stuff I usually save for cooking, but the expensive one I'd been saving for a special occasion. Well, finding out your family has been using you like an ATM seemed special enough. As I poured myself a generous glass, memories flooded back. All those times I'd helped them financially over the years. 3 years ago, when Tyler totaled his first car, I gave him $5,000 for a down payment on a new one because he needs reliable transportation for school. Last year, when Tiffany decided she wanted to become a yoga instructor, I paid for her $2,500 certification program. Then there was the $30,000 I spent renovating the lake cottage after a pipe burst and caused water damage, a cottage I've used exactly twice in the 4 years since my parents bought it. But the biggest expenditure by far was covering their house payments. 4 years ago, when my parents were looking to downsize from our old family home, they fell in love with their current place but struggled with the monthly payments on their retirement income. They took out the mortgage themselves, but right after I got my promotion, they asked if I could help them with the payments. So for the past 4 years, I've been sending them $1,800 every month to cover their mortgage. plus the additional $600 I sent them each month for utilities and property taxes. That's $2,400 a month, I said aloud, doing the math, for 4 years. The total made me wince. Almost $115,000 I'd given them, and for what? To be told I wasn't getting anything in the will because I was doing well financially? I took my wine to the couch and stared out at the city lights. The truth was I wasn't even that interested in inheriting their house or the cottage. What hurt was the dismissive way they'd announced it, as if my contributions meant nothing. As if I meant nothing. And using my favorite meal as a bribe? That was just manipulative. I opened my banking app and stared at the scheduled transfers. $1,800 to mom and dad mortgage scheduled for the 15th, and $600 to parents' expenses for the 1st of each month. With a deep breath, I canceled both recurring payments. Then I turned off my phone, finished my wine, and went to bed. The next morning, I woke up feeling lighter than I had in years. For the first time, I didn't have to worry about setting aside a huge chunk of my paycheck for my parents. I could actually start saving aggressively for my own future. I spent the next 2 weeks throwing myself into work, staying late at the office and bringing projects home on weekends. My phone remained blissfully silent, no calls or texts from my family. It was as if our confrontation had never happened. Then, exactly 14 days after the disastrous dinner, I received a text from my mother. "Jasmine, don't forget the mortgage payment is due today. Also, we need the household money by Friday. The electric bill is higher this month." I stared at my phone in disbelief. Was she serious? After everything that had happened, she was still expecting me to send money? As if cutting me out of the will and insulting me to my face was just business as usual? I typed a response, "I won't be making any more payments for the mortgage or bills. I'm not going to financially support a house that you've made clear I have no stake in. Please make other arrangements." I hit send and set my phone down, my heart pounding. Within 15 minutes, it rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I took a deep breath and answered. "How dare you," she shrieked, skipping any greeting. "You can't just stop paying without warning. What are we supposed to do?" "Hello to you too, Mom," I said, keeping my voice calm. "And I'm giving you warning now. I won't be making any more payments. You can't do this to us, we're your parents. You have an obligation." "I don't, actually," I interrupted. "I've been helping voluntarily because I thought we were a family who supported each other. But after learning that you and Dad are leaving everything to Tyler and Tiffany, I realized this arrangement isn't fair to me." "This is about the will," she huffed. "I knew it. You're just greedy and jealous. Your father and I raised you better than this." "No, Mom, this is about respect. I've spent years helping all of you financially, and in return, I get cut out of the will and insulted at dinner. I'm done being the family piggy bank." I hung up before she could respond, my hands shaking. The calls started coming in almost immediately. First my mother again, then my father, then both twins. I let them all go to voicemail. Their messages ranged from tearful pleas to vicious insults. "Jasmine, please," Dad begged in one message. "We can't make the mortgage without you, we'll lose the house." "You selfish bastard," Tyler snarled in another. "Mom's crying because of you. Hope you're happy." After 2 days of this, I blocked all their numbers. I needed peace. A week later, my phone started ringing with calls from relatives I barely spoke to. First my Aunt Linda, then my cousin Steve, even my father's brother who lived in Arizona. Apparently, my mother had been busy spreading her version of events. "Your mom says you're trying to make them homeless," Aunt Linda said when I finally answered one of her calls. "What's going on, honey?" I took a deep breath and explained the situation, the will, the dinner, and most importantly, the fact that I'd been paying their mortgage for 4 years without anyone in the family knowing. "That can't be right," she said, sounding genuinely confused. "Your mom told everyone you just helped them with the down payment." I paid every single mortgage payment since they bought the house, I replied, plus extra for bills. You can ask them yourself. Similar conversations followed with other relatives. Some sided with me, some with my parents. A few refused to believe I'd been financially supporting my parents at all, insisting I was lying to make myself look better. Fed up with the whispers and accusations, I finally posted a detailed explanation on Facebook, laying out the financial support I'd provided over the years and why I'd decided to stop. I ended it with, I love my family, but I can't keep subsidizing their lifestyle while being treated as an outsider. It's time for